Celtic have been drawn against Atalanta in this year's Champions League, so ahead of that game, I've decided to take a look back at the 22 times Celtic have faced Italian opposition since the turn of the century. First up was Juventus, when Celtic reached the group stage of the Champions League for the first time back in 2001. I have a video on my channel already which looks at this campaign in detail, but basically the first game ended in fury for Celtic fans. The club's first game was initially scheduled to be at home to Rosenborg, but was postponed due to 9/11, so it ended up being away to Juve in Turin. A double from David Trezeguet put the home side 2-0 up, but Celtic mounted a fantastic comeback as goals from Stilian Petrov and Henrik Larsson levelled things up entering injury time. Italian forward Nicola Amoruso dived after minimal contact from Yusuf Harn, and German referee Helmut Krug pointed to the spot. Amoruso then converted the penalty to allow the old lady to walk away with a 3-2 win. Martin O'Neill's post-match interview was the angriest you will ever see the Irishman. The injustice did at least spur Celtic on to a magnificent performance on Halloween night 2001 at Celtic Park. In an all-time classic, Celtic won 4-3 thanks to goals from Val Harn, Larsson and a Chris Sutton double. It would be 2004 before Celtic would again face Italian opposition, this time being drawn in a Champions League group which included AC Milan. In the first game at the San Siro, there would once again be late heartbreak from Martin O'Neill's side. Andrei Shevchenko put the home side 1-0 up before Stan Varga equalised for Celtic. However, 89th and 91st minute goals from Filippo Inzaghi and Andrea Pirlo claimed a 3-1 win for Carlo Ancelotti's team. Back at Parkhead 2 months later, Milan essentially parked the bus to shut out Celtic in a 0-0 draw. Milan had just 5 shots to Celtic's 14. The game is also remembered for a moment of individual brilliance from then 18-year-old Celtic winger Aidan McGeady, but the result meant Celtic finished bottom of the group and crashed out of Europe, while Milan topped the group. Celtic would next face AC Milan again 2 years later, this time in the knockout round of the 2006-2007 Champions League campaign. Both legs ended goalless, first up at Celtic Park, in a game where once more Carlo Ancelotti's men parked the bus in Glasgow. In the return leg, a Paolo Maldini handball in the penalty box went wrongly unpunished in normal time, which left Gordon Strachan's side feeling aggrieved, only for Kaká to score a wonderful solo goal in extra time to send the Italians through. Another frustrating visit to Italy for Celtic, but the 10,000 fans who made the journey were praised by Carlo Ancelotti, who stated, "This is what we need in Italy, this type of environment. This was the essence of sport. To hear the Celtic fans singing and chanting after the game was incredible." Well, yet again Celtic were drawn against AC Milan next, this time in the 2007 Champions League group stage. The first game was at Celtic Park, only 7 months after the sides last met. Celtic opened the scoring through Stephen McManus before Kaká equalised from the penalty spot. Then, in stoppage time, Celtic finally got one back over on Milan when Brazilian goalkeeper Dida spilled a long-range effort from Gary Caldwell, allowing Scott McDonald to sweep the ball home to earn Celtic the win. But the story didn't end there. During the post-goal celebrations, a Celtic fan ran on the pitch and patted Dida on the cheek before running off. The 2005 FIFA Pro Goalkeeper of the Year initially started chasing after the Celtic fan before suddenly collapsing to the floor dramatically. At first, this took some of the gleam off the result for Celtic fans, who feared repercussions from UEFA. However, replays and media coverage in the aftermath showed pretty conclusively that Dida was play acting. UEFA charged Dida with breaching rules upholding loyalty, integrity and sportsmanship, as it was deemed that he'd feigned injury. He was punished with a 2-match suspension, while Celtic were fined £25,000. Many Milan fans themselves criticised Dida's actions, with one message board post asking, "How much longer do we have to put up with this circus clown Dida?" The Brazilian was not next when the sides met again at the San Siro in December. AC Milan walked away as 1-0 victors on the night, thanks again to a goal from Filippo Inzaghi. However, elsewhere in the group, in the final game week, Shakhtar Donetsk lost at home to Benfica, meaning both Celtic and AC Milan qualified for the knockout phase, so both sets of supporters were celebrating at full time. Something different next time for Celtic, as they were drawn alongside Udinese in a 2011 Europa League group stage. In the first game in Glasgow, there was again late drama. A third-minute penalty from South Korean Ki Sung-young gave Celtic an early lead. However, a controversial late penalty was awarded to the visitors, which saw a furious on-field reaction from Celtic players and from manager Neil Lennon on the touchline. It was all in vain, as Swiss midfielder Alman Abdi converted the 88th minute spot kick to see the game finish 1-1. Celtic went to Italy in December, needing a win to qualify from the group, but once again the score ended 1 each. Gary Hooper had put Celtic 1-0 up in the first half, before Udinese club legend Antonio Di Natale levelled things up in first half stoppage time. In the knockout round of the 2012-13 Champions League, Celtic were drawn against Antonio Conte's Juventus. In the first leg at Celtic Park, Neil Lennon's side did the vast majority of the attacking and controlled the ball, but were repeatedly picked off by the visitors on the rare occasions they did venture forward. Juventus earned a 3-0 win that was hard for many Celtic fans to take. UEFA president at the time was Juventus club icon Michel Platini. When the draw was made, he declared Juventus had already booked a spot in the quarter-finals. He'd also declared the previous summer that the new 5-referee system implemented in the Champions League would help end the issue of manhandling in the box during set pieces. However, all 5 officials managed to miss it, as Juventus players repeatedly manhandled Celtic players during set pieces in the game over and over again. It felt like they just didn't want to see it. The tie was over before the second leg in Turin, with Juve proceeded to win 2-0 to earn a comprehensive 5-0 aggregate victory. Familiar story next, as Celtic were put in a Champions League group alongside AC Milan again in 2013. Familiar ending also for the first game at the San Siro in September. Milan scored 2 late goals to earn a 2-0 win. Celtic led the line with Anthony Stokes in this campaign, and it simply wasn't good enough. Neil Lennon's side had a poor summer transfer window and were a much weaker side than the team who had played Juve earlier in the year. At Celtic Park 2 months later, things went even worse. The Hoops were played off the pitch in a 3-0 defeat, with goals from Kaká, Christian Zapata and Mario Balotelli. For a change, in 2015, Celtic were paired with a different Milan side, as they were drawn against Inter in the Europa League knockout round. The first leg on February 19th was an all-time classic. Celtic started slowly, allowing Inter to race into a 2-0 lead, but 2 goals in quick succession meant the score was 2 each as the game approached half-time, only for a Craig Gordon blunder to allow Inter to retake the lead before the interval. Celtic stayed strong in the second half and scored a much-deserved injury-time equaliser, courtesy of a fantastic strike from unknown forward John Guidetti. A week later would see some more San Siro heartbreak for Celtic. Star player Virgil van Dijk was harshly sent off after just 36 minutes. Ronnie Dowla's men put in a brave performance, but Inter scored an 88th minute winner to seal their place in the next round, courtesy of a 4-3 aggregate victory. It would be 4 years before Celtic again faced Italian opposition. They were drawn against Lazio in the 2019 Europa League group stage. At Celtic Park in October, Celtic came back from 1-0 down to win 2-1, thanks to a goal from Ryan Christie and an 89th minute winner from Christopher Julian. Lazio fans marched through Glasgow city centre singing fascist songs and doing fascist salutes during the day, so there was a lot of bad feeling between the two sets of supporters going into the return game in Rome. This time, a trip to Italy would have a happy ending for Celtic. They again battled from 1-0 down to win 2-1. James Forrest responded to Ciro Immobile's opener, then a famous 95th minute goal from Olivier Ncham gave Celtic all 3 points. Celtic fans in the Stadio Olimpico also mocked Italian fascist leader Mussolini's death by holding a fan upside down, referencing Mussolini's infamous demise. After so much late misery over the years, this was a much needed triumph for the fans. The next encounter with Italians came against familiar opposition in the form of AC Milan, but in unfamiliar environments, as the clubs met behind closed doors in the 2020 Europa League group stage. In the dismal COVID campaign under Neil Lennon, Celtic first lost 3-1 at home to Milan, just days after a dispiriting 2-0 loss to Rangers in the league. At San Siro in December, Celtic raced to an unexpected 2-goal lead with goals from Tom Rogic and Odsonne Edouard early on. However, they predictably collapsed and ended up losing the game 4-2. Greek goalkeeper Vasilis Barkas put in a particularly awful performance here, and the gap between Celtic and Milan looked massive. And finally, Celtic's most recent encounter with Italian opposition came against Lazio in the 2023 Champions League group stage. First up at Celtic Park, It was Celtic's turn to face the same late heartbreak they inflicted on Lazio just a few years previously. Kyogo had put Celtic 1-0 up early on. Lazio equalised before Luis Palma had a potential 81st minute winner ruled out by VAR. Then Lazio stole all 3 points with a 97th minute winner from Pedro. In Italy, Lazio legend Ciro Immobile came back to haunt Celtic once again, scoring both goals for the Italians in a 2-0 victory. Overall, since the turn of the century, Celtic's record against Italian opposition reads: played 22, won 4, drew 5, lost 13. As you can see, there's usually plenty of excitement, drama and controversy when Celtic take on Italian opposition, and though they've rarely come out on top, it's a challenge Celtic fans will welcome every single time.